It's what you believe up here, man, that's going to help you when it comes towards your sales performance. If you have crappy belief system in your product, in your service, and who you work with, bad things going to happen. On today's episode, we're going to talk to you about how you can fix this, though, how you can establish and create a belief system that's like money in the bank every time. You're going to love this episode. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist, and I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And today we're going to be focusing on how we can make sure we can help you, develop that belief system that's going to help you to not only go through the tough times, but also the good times. And it's important. You got to have the belief in these areas. My friend Roger Smith is going to break down to you these four main things that you need to do to establish a belief system. And if you're here for the first time listening to our podcast, let me just tell you and be straight up with it. This show is designed to help you to build one, better pipeline, two, convert more of the pipeline. Simple. That's all we want to focus on. And the topic today, obviously, is one of those things that's going to be relevant towards helping you to build pipe and also the confidence that you can convert more of that. And Roger's going to break that down. Roger has a book as well that he's going to touch base on. And he works a lot with leadership teams and individuals and also with organizations just so they can become better in their sales performance. You're going to hear some of those things. You're going to resonate with some of it and you're going to love it. So I want you to do one thing. Think about a colleague or a friend that needs to hear this message today, that, they're going into this, they're thinking, I'm going into this quarter and I want to make sure that I have the right belief system. Like I maybe they have some negative beliefs or some things that's holding them back. And perhaps it's you. Take this episode and share it with them or share it on social. Someone else can benefit from it. Anyways, if you're not connected with me too, connect with me on LinkedIn, Donald C. Kelly. As we dive in, you get a chance to learn a little bit more about Roger. Then you hear about these four things as we go throughout the episode, and he's going to break down each of them for you. Let's check it out. Roger, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Donald. I appreciate you having me on the show.
Of course, man. I'm really looking forward to this. Looking forward to pick your brain a little bit and talk about this idea, because I feel that a belief system is absolutely critical. I was on a call with about 50 different sales reps in Mexico last week, and one of the things that we were talking about was the importance of the mindset and how that can help you, but not just that component, but just like this belief idea. So I'm really excited about this. I'm passionate for it, and I'm looking to pick your brain on that. But before we dive in, would you be willing to tell us a little bit more about you and what you do?
Well, now I'm retired. I just wrote a book called The Most Unlikely Leader, an unbelievable journey from GED to CEO. So
Wow.
it kind of, it was quite an experience writing the book. Definitely put me in a pretty vulnerable experience. But so that's that. Now I'm kind of looking at what my next chapter is and where I go from here.
Well, we'll put that book in our show notes so folks can get access to it. But I'm definitely excited to get a chance to see a little bit about that story and how that could play into the conversation today as well. So,
Yeah.
Well, let's dive in. Let's talk about this. There's, and you probably seen this from your experience as an individual contributor to being a leader in an organization, and and guiding a company. What do you feel? Why do you feel the belief system it's so important for individual sales reps to have?
So and let me start off by saying to you that I ended up my first year, I was the number one salesperson in my company. I
My
was
goodness.
also I was also the worst salesperson in my company. In fact, so I've often told the story that I was so scared of the close. They taught me,
Mhm.
okay, you get to the close and you give your closing line and then you shut up and, whoever speaks first, well, they would say whoever speaks first loses, which I never understood because everybody should win in a buying
Right?
situation, right? But I'd give my closing line and then the back of my neck would start to shake so hard that I literally thought that the prospect thought I was having some type of seizure. I mean, I was
No.
so nervous, seriously, all day long, serious. So I was so scared. And then I realized, all right, listen, if it was easy, everybody would have it. And so
Mhm.
therefore, um, I was going to have to work extra hard. Listen, I'm sure there are natural born salespeople, natural born leaders, natural born CEOs, but I wasn't any of those. So,
Mm.
so what I learned early on is if I want to get really good, I'm going to have to work harder than anybody else. I'm going to have to practice my presentation harder than anybody else. And that's what I did. And early on, I came to understand how important the belief system was to a salesperson. Because
Yeah.
without a strong belief system, cracks start to form in the foundation. And all of a sudden, you start getting a lot of self doubt in yourself, in your product, in the leadership, in your company. And as that talk grows, your sale gets weaker and weaker. And I think it's really our responsibility to make sure that we are always shoring up that belief system. And that's why it's
Mm.
so important for it.
Yeah, so I love that, and one of the things that you mentioned that I thought was fascinating was that it starts the self doubt kind of start creating that little crack in your foundation, because it doesn't, it's not one. Sometimes people might think, I got this one rejection and that's what messed me up. It's the belief that you had. You probably, the rejection came, maybe the person said, can't meet with you right now, I'm not interested. It's that came from other things that, I guess the immobilization, or where you feel like I can't progress, probably came from the sales, the other things that happened. Maybe you had doubt in the product, doubt in a company, maybe you
Correct.
had fear that it wasn't going to work, fear that this doesn't, you never seen this happen before, especially if you're a new sales rep. You're like, I never used this solution before, so I don't really know if it works. So all of these
Right.
little cracks eventually become catastrophic. What that,
Right.
no, I'm not interested.
It's like you give the objection and you go, what? It didn't work? Oh, maybe they're right and I'm
Yeah,
wrong, you know? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
S-
I agree.
So with that, when we talked, you talked about three main areas that forms this belief system that sales rep need to have. Would you mind telling us what those three areas are, and then we can take
Yeah.
time and break down each of them?
Yeah, actually four. So the
Four. All right, let's do
first,
this.
yeah, the first one is the belief in yourself.
Okay.
And what happens is, well, guess what? It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you don't believe you can do it, if you don't believe you can sell, you're not going to sell, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what are the things that you need to do to have belief in yourself so that you can be passionate about what you're doing? And so, as I said before, when I started, I didn't believe that I could sell. I thought I was the worst at it. But but I learned to master the craft. And so I was willing to do the work that I needed to do to master my craft. Once I started to master my craft, then you know what happened? I got
What's that?
results. I got results. And once I got results, then I started to gain confidence.
Mm.
And once I gained confidence, then I actually believed that I could do this. I actually believed, hey, you know what? I'm going to go do my next presentation and I'm going to sell it. And I could actually believe it. It wasn't just self-talk. It was me believing that I actually could make this next presentation and the next sale. But it didn't happen by me just saying over and over, I believe, I believe. It happened, which, I mean, listen, there's all sorts of, people out there saying that's the answer.
Yeah.
Well, it isn't. The answer is you being able to learn your craft well enough so that you could get the results, so that you could get the confidence, so that you could believe in yourself.
So again, it's the like one belief in myself that I can do this. I've never sold this type of service before. Maybe it's I'm just making this up, but let's say it's uh, HR services. I don't know, whatever, professional services, HR. I'm making all this stuff on the spot, guys.
Got
So I
it.
never sold this stuff before. So I need to one believe in myself. Like before this, I sold XYG services. So
Mhm.
that worked. Therefore, I know my ability to do this is there. I have never sold this one, so I need to get my confidence in selling it. So I need to do the practice, and then after I practice, I'll start seeing the results. Therefore, it increases my confidence even more so in this particular sale. Am I off on
Correct.
that?
Correct. No, 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 exactly right. I mean, combined with these other steps, but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's the first one you better get in gear, right?
So I'm a new sales rep and I'm listening to you. I'm writing on this I'm writing on this content today because I'm all over this topic. I saw it in the queue and I pushed play to listen to it. So the first thing is I need to one believe in myself. But what if I don't necessarily have a belief in myself? How do I get that belief in myself?
Yeah, you're gonna get belief in yourself by getting results.
Got you.
That's
Okay.
the only way you're going to get. You got to get results. And if it takes you, you know, doing your presentation 30 times before you actually practicing your presentation before you actually give your first presentation, then so be it. You know, I've
Mm,
given many, many, many speeches in my life, but I must have said those speeches 100 times, 200 times before I ever stepped up on that stage. And so when I got finally got, and I always was still nervous, but by the
yeah.
time I got up on the stage, I knew what I was saying. I was confident about what I was saying. I did the practice that was necessary for me to get the results that I wanted to get.
Mm,
So, you know, whatever you need to do, the practice, the understanding, whatever you need to do so that you get results, so that you get confidence, creates belief in yourself.
love it. All right, that's fair enough then. Um, well, let's go on to the next belief. So I have belief in myself now, or I understand that because you said I need these others as well, the other three. What's the number? Let's just tell me what number two, three, and four is, and then we'll come back and dive
Okay.
into each of them.
So
Just
number two is product.
okay,
Number three is leadership,
okay.
and and number four is the company.
All right, let's go to the product
Because
then.
you could have leadership in, let's say, an agency, and the company is a separate entity.
Yeah.
So you have that. Yeah. So the second thing is the belief in the product.
Hmm.
And you know, we were talking about what happens is you get an objection. Somebody says, well, you know, I heard that this was about this product, and so therefore I think I want something else. Or they tell you why that your product doesn't work for them, and you start to distrust your product. And you know, it
Mm,
goes back to the thing, which is, well, if you don't believe in what you're selling, then how in the hell do you expect your prospect to believe in what you're selling, right?
yeah.
So you know, it's really a matter of understanding everything about your product. It's not like you can't wing it. You really, really have to understand all the details. What are the pros? What are the cons? You know, I mean, there's always pros and cons, and nothing is perfection. But understanding it and knowing why this pro way outweighs this small con is
Hmm.
so important because that's what you're going to be dealing with when you get out and you're giving your presentation in whatever it is. So understanding your product, and if you don't understand your product, then you know, go up line, ask the questions, ask the leadership. Hey, I don't understand this. I'm getting this type of response, and I don't understand this. Can you explain it to me?
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to know it all. There are people that have been there longer than you have that understand it, understand what you're going through, and it doesn't make you any weaker salesperson to ask the questions. In fact, I believe it makes you a stronger salesperson to ask the questions.
Oh, for sure. Couldn't agree with you
Yeah.
more on that.
Yeah.
I think I've because we don't, as a leader leading an organization, you don't know where the salesperson might have the struggles or challenges, like the details. I mean, you can look at the numbers as much as you can, but until someone can reveal to me and say, like, this is where I feel I'm having the biggest challenge, I can't help them, right? And then
Yeah.
the other part to that too is that I tend to be more willing to help those people who are vulnerable become even more successful. I mean, in their performance, because I feel like they're being real. If that,
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense. It goes back to what you're saying about your book. You were vulnerable when you wrote that book, but I imagine you got a lot of folks who read that because it was like, man, this is like legit. Somebody came from GED to a CEO. Like, I could do this too. And it's the same concept. If I feel like, I just have a hard time with XYZ, to tell them, to get the prospect to gain interest, I need your guidance. Can you help me with
Yeah.
some of these questions? That I'll help that person any day.
Right. Absolutely. I used to have a saying like when I would teach things about leadership, I was saying, hey, you got to be the dragon slayer. You got to
Mm,
go and help your salespeople, slay the dragons because, what happens is we create as salespeople, we create our own probably unfounded fears, but we do. Like when I first started selling life insurance, I was like 22 years old, but the
yeah.
people I were talking to were like 55 or 60. And I'm going, oh man, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I don't even have life insurance. And I'm talking to these people, right? And I remembered my sales leader in this deal. He said, hey, listen, let's go out in the field. All we're going to do is see 55-year-old, 60-year-old people. Let's go slay your dragons. So I think that's really important also.
Slay them dragons, man. Be a dragon slayer.
Right?
I love that. And I imagine that helped you so much more going into the next level once you started having, you talked to enough of these folks and you understood the challenges. You realized they may be senior in life and have a lot more life experience, but you know a lot more about life insurance, even though you don't have any compared to them because they don't use it or study about it every single day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Though I definitely bought some because I
Yeah.
figured, okay, well, crap, how am I going to sell you if I don't have it? So,
Yeah.
so then I
So I
think
got,
yeah.
go for it. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, so then the next level is, believing in your leadership. And
Mm.
I think this is so important. I mean, I think it's like this is like four wheels on a car, and if one of them's flat, man, it is just going to affect where you're going and what you're doing. So I think that it's important that you understand, where your leadership is going, why they make the decisions. If you feel that you're not clear on an agenda,
Hmm.
then it's up to you to really find out. And I know that's tough because there are some leaders in there that still operate on this hidden agenda deal, which I just don't get it. I don't understand it. It's the worst thing possible. But you know what? It's you got to kind of bring it out. You just got to. It may cause a little bit of conflict, but it's so important that you overcome the hurdle that it's
Yeah.
important that you broach the subject. I don't understand it. I want to understand where you're going. I want to understand what your vision is, and I want to follow your vision, but I need to understand this.
Mm.
And I think it's key.
Love it. With this, what about my leaders? My leadership is not. I'll give you a story, and then you can help me out. When I
Okay.
first started in sales, one of the companies I worked for was a managed IT company. The leader that I had didn't know anything about sales really. She was someone that was doing some administrative stuff and kind of like marketing, but she was like wrangled in and roped to kind of oversee us and to guide us. I didn't have a lot of confidence in her, to be honest, being dead serious. How can I, or a sales rep in a situation that maybe in a situation like this where you don't have confidence in your leader, develop that confidence? What do you do? What's your thoughts?
Ugh, well, all right. So That's a good question, Donald, because if it gets so that you really can't, then you may just have to go someplace else because you,
Yeah.
you want to be able to follow the person that's leading you. But the other
Hmm.
way to do it is say, all right, listen, what can I learn from this person? Maybe I have to pull on other people to learn the things I do, but maybe this person, listen, I'm a real unorganized person. Maybe I can learn organizational techniques, which will definitely improve, my sales and everything. Maybe I can learn that from this person, and the other things I need to, I'll get from other people.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I think that's a good way of looking at it. It's kind of like, if you're in this situation, there's good everywhere. Identify the good, use that, and then the things that I had a scout leader once. So when I did Boy Scout back with our church in the days, like he said, like you're gonna have good leaders, you're gonna have bad leaders. You need to learn from both of them. What the good leaders did good, what the bad leaders didn't do so well. But in your case, you're saying look for the good, even the good and the bad leaders. Some things that they may have good qualities on, take advantage of those, and then go find mentors elsewhere. Or
yeah,
in this
yeah.
case, the company eventually went under, so I had to go to another one.
well, you know what? And I also believe that. Like I've had mentors in my life that have just been so great with me, and
Yeah.
I've learned so much. But I've also learned what not to do.
Hmm.
I learned what to do, but I also saw some things that I said, man, if I ever get there, I will never do that. So there's
Yeah.
there's learning experiences both ways.
I love this.
Yeah.
The final area is the company, correct?
Yes. And that one's a little bit tougher because the company is serving several different masters. The company is, if it's a public company, it's serving the shareholders. Um, in this case, I was serving the shareholders. I'm serving the agency force. I'm serving the company employees. So, I always had a philosophy that if everybody didn't win in the decision, then it wasn't a decision worth making. And so and that was kind of my mantra in the deal, and therefore I was able to create buy-in from these different entities. But it's also sometimes very hard to understand why a company is making those decisions, and I think
Yeah.
it's up to you to, once again, it's about asking questions, and communication is understanding the whys. It doesn't mean that you're always going to be in agreement with the company's decisions. In fact, it would be very weird if you were always in agreement with the company's decisions. But it's important that you understand the whys of those decisions. And so, like I said, the company's serving a few different masters in there, and you're just trying to accomplish both and move forward and keep on growing. So understand that, talk to the people, talk to the leadership in your organization, help them, have them try to explain why the company is making those decisions, and just keep an open mind for it. Just understand that all the decisions aren't necessarily going to be the way you think it should go, aren't going to necessarily be in your favor, but understand that it's from a company point of view, you got to look very, very big picture. And big picture means that sometimes it's you're making a decision that people may not understand. And I do think it's a company's responsibility also to make sure that when they're making decisions, that they're conveying the reasons for their decisions. And so that at least you understand it, may not agree with it, but you understand it. And I think if you kind of go through an outlook and just understand that, you no matter where you are, Even if it's your own company, you're not going to find perfection. You just aren't. So,
Yeah.
just don't be looking at and expecting perfection. Don't put people up on pedestals. That I've seen that happen so many times where even with people put me on a pedestal and I'm going, don't do this, man.
Yeah.
I am
No.
human. I am not perfect, man. I'm gonna make mistakes just like everybody else. Hopefully, I'll make more right decisions than wrong decisions. But 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 I'm gonna make mistakes in here. Don't put me on this pedestal that you can't live up to.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely love all of this here. If there's one major thing you want folks to leave this episode with, what's that one major piece of advice?
I mean, listen, my my main piece of advice would be find something that you're absolutely passionate about. Do what you're passionate about. I see people that are just miserable and they work every day and they're just miserable every day, and that's a horrible way to live your life. So find
Wonderful.
something, do something that you're passionate about, that you can get pleasure out of, and keep on learning your craft, growing in your craft, keep on evolving, keep on getting better at what you're doing, would be what I would say.
Love it. If folks want to get in touch with you to learn about your book and to get connected with you, what's the best way to go about doing so, Roger?
They can go onto my website, rogersmith.me. That's rogersmith.me. They can order my book from there. My social media links are all on there, or they can go to Amazon and order the book.
Love it. We're going to put all that in the show notes. Roger, thank you for helping us establish this belief system. I appreciate you today.
Thank you, Donald. Thank you for having me on my show. You're a great host, by the way.
I appreciate it. It's always good when you have great guests and has great insights. Thanks, Roger.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Bye bye.
Hey, that was Roger Smith. And if you haven't done so already, connect with him on LinkedIn. Send him a message. Tell him that you appreciate the episode today and the things that he shared. Take this episode, share it with one other person, as well as here's what I want you to do. Think about the sponsors that we have on this podcast, because these are people that really could help you in your sales effort. And I want you to do something. I want you to take advantage of the offer. You can set up a time and just, if you forget about it, just put a little note on your calendar to check out the offers from the sponsors, because I promise you, when you do that and you apply the stuff that they're sharing, it's going to change the game for you. It's going to help you in your team. It's going to help you in your efforts. It's going to help you in your performance overall. So I want to give a big shout out to our sponsors, and I want to make sure that you take advantage of these tools so you can, one, build better pipeline, and two, convert more of that pipe. As always, I want you to find those right customers. I want you to know what to say when you reach out to them. I want you to have the better pipeline. I want you to raise your level of thinking. I want you to go out and do big things. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen today.